You're watching Big 12 now on ESPN+. Welcome to the WVU Coliseum in Morgantown, West Virginia. West Virginia celebrating 50 years of gymnastics with their 51st all-time meeting with the Temple Owls. And welcome to the Coliseum. Michael Minnick, glad to be joined this year once again by Kaylin Millick. Happy Gymnastics New Year, Kaylin. Welcome.
Thank you, Michael. I'm so excited to be here again this season. It is my absolute favorite time of the year. It's Sparkle season. If you don't know what that means at home, it means NCAA Gymnastics is officially underway. I'm excited to see what these teams have today.
Temple already has a meet under their belt. Madison Durunda competed in the all-around for the first time in her career.
In talking to Coach Steele about Madison, she has gained so much confidence through her 3 years. Into her junior year, she adds events each year. Excited to see her in the all-around debut this year.
Speaking of all-around, Abby Pearson will be in the all-around for West Virginia today, back for her 5th year as a Mountaineer.
Absolutely. Abby has been an absolute rock on 3 events for the Mountaineers. She's added bars here and there. She will do the all-around today. I'm excited to see her in her 5th year.
Already over 1,400 points for her career. Someone that gives you something in every event. Competed well at the NCAA Regional all-around, actually, with a 39.15 to lead West Virginia on the day. First rotation on deck, it'll be West Virginia on the vault, Temple on the bars when we return on ESPN+. Welcome back to the WVU Coliseum, counting down to the first rotation here between West Virginia and Temple. Season opener for the Mountaineers. Temple competed 2 nights ago at the Palestra against Penn State, and Pitt. Take a look at our meet format, Kaylin. Pretty normal stuff, pretty cut and dried. The biggest thing, I think, for newer fans to keep in mind is if you have a bad score, you can drop it.
Absolutely. This is the time of year, Michael, where each team just has to start. They'll put 6 gymnasts up on each event. 5 of those scores will count. It's a good time of year just to get started. Then they can kind of play with lineups as they get comfortable throughout the year.
Yep, the dream is to get 200. That's a perfect score in every routine. West Virginia will compete vault, bars, beam, and floor, and then the flip for Temple. They'll begin on bars, then vault, then floor, and then beam, where they struggled on Friday at the Palestra. West Virginia will lead up with Carly Nelson, her first action since February 3rd of last year.
I think that's something to really talk about, is that first routine up, Michael, is so important. It's something we don't talk about enough. That role is vital for each of those teams. It not only sets the tone for the meet today, but it sets the tone for your whole season.
This West Virginia team has already had to deal with injuries, but getting Carly Nelson back, I think, is huge. She was someone that did vault and beam through her first 5 meets as a true freshman, then missed through the rest of the year. So putting her in that leadoff spot, really big. On the other side, Hillary Steele, her 2nd career meet. She was promoted after being the assistant last year for the Owls.
It was really awesome to talk to Coach Steele today. She has such a decorated background, being a gymnast at Georgia, being a part of national championships. I got to ask her what she brought from her experience to Temple. She said, honestly, just being fluid, knowing that not every year is going to be the same, and just letting the girls have fun and be all in together.
Speaking of Georgia alums, Jason Butts closing in on 150 career wins. He can get 1 away if the Mountaineers can get the victory today, which they've done in 49 of 50 all-time meetings with Temple.
Yeah, similar to what we talked about with Coach Steele, Jason also taught his team to be fluid. They dealt with a lot of injuries this year. They just got to get out and start the season and see how they do.
Mountaineers will put out this lineup in vault. It's the most experienced group in terms of returners. 5 of these 6 have competed in vault 4 for West Virginia, and the 6th, Sierra Munns, is a transfer from Texas Women's with experience.
It's going to be a good meet, Michael. I'm so excited. Like I said, this is just the time where each team just wants to start. Not sure that they know what what the result will be, but just getting started, getting excited for the season to get underway.
You saw the lineup there on bars for Temple, and talking to the Temple coaching staff, they were saying they felt like that was their trouble area, their worry coming into the season. Then they did well and lost a little bit of a focus on beam, and they were in first place through 3 rotations on Friday against good competition in Penn State and Penn.
And I think the key for them is having their leadoff, Madison. She was out with an Achilles injury last year, but she's come back strong. She's such a strong competitor on that event. I think she's going to be such a staple for their day today.
Carly Nelson, lead off for West Virginia. Her best vault of her career and the year last year was her first at home. She had a 9.75 year against Maryland back on January 13th of last year. You mentioned Madison Elmore in that leadoff spot as Carly Nelson gets underway for the Mountaineers.
Carly will do a Yurchenko full for the first time out, first event. She absolutely nailed the landing. That is something this year, that is a new rule. Each judge wants to see that controlled landing held. She just nailed it. Absolutely. Great start for the Mountaineers.
We talked about it a little bit. Setting the tone, especially in the first meet, is really important. And I think Carly Nelson absolutely did that, and she puts the chain on after her vault. So we'll alternate routines here. You get to see every single one of these events and each of these competitions. Temple bouncing back. They were good on bars in their opener on Friday, putting up a score in that meet on the bars. Of 48.575. See the salute there. Madison Elmore ready to go. Season best last year of 9.725.
He starts off here with a nice toe hand into a Tkachev. One of the things the judges is going to want to see in these routines are big release moves, nice execution, good handstands, and of course a stuck landing.
9.675 in her season opener on Friday.
Nice cast handstand there. Beautiful blind full on top. Ends of the double pike. A little bit under rotated there. Chest was down. Again, you can see she kind of held that landing just to show control at the end. Definitely want to see those chest up, stuck landings, but good start for Temple.
West Virginia puts Brooke Albin in the second slot on vaults.
Another Yurchenko full for the Mountaineers. She shows such good distance. Again, I'm going to emphasize the landings today because that is a new rule. She held that. She showed control. Tiny hop, but overall clean vault for Brooke.
Career best of a 9.875. She really came on vault as last year went on.
She did. Brooke, take another look here. You can see from that angle, you can see the white lines behind the table. That's something the judges look at as well. You want to land within those lines. If you do get off to the side, they're going to deduct for that. That was a good look for Brooke.
And now the chain goes to Brooke Albin. She gets to wear it until the third vault for Kiana Lewis. Second on bars is Hannah Weckler, and she's a big story for this Temple team. Wasn't even going to compete in gymnastics, but her club coach reached out and said, hey, she's still working in the summer, she's still competing, would you have any interest in her? She went to Temple's camp, they loved her, they brought her in, and they love her attitude.
Such a cool story. I'm so excited to see how she handles college gymnastics. I think she's gonna have a lot of fun.
Carly Steele saying she's the hardest worker on this team. Good attitude.
I mean, and this is a beautiful routine. Oh, just got a little caught up. She was a little under-rotated on that Maloney there into the shoot-over handstand. Just didn't have quite enough swing. Again, this is such a pivotal time for these teams because the nerves are there. It's the first time out, first time in a big arena. So you just kind of have to see what you do with it. Can't get caught up on the mistakes.
You've been in that position as a coach and as a gymnast. What's kind of the discussion there?
It's tough. It's such a long preseason, and then you come out and just don't really know what to expect. You hope the confidence is there, but you really don't know until you get started.
West Virginia winning off a 9.75 on vault for Carly Nelson. Here's Kiana Lewis. Last time she vaulted here at the Big 12 Championships had a 9.9, a career best on vault.
Kiana is a rock on this event. She is one of those that can stick this vault every single time. We'll see how she starts the season today.
In a bigger role for this team as well as one of its veteran leaders this year.
Another clean Yurchenko full. She is a little bit close to the table. I don't know if you can see where her hands were on the table. You want to definitely show that distance, but it's a big vault. It's really clean. She's going to get the stick here come towards the middle of the season.
Big smile for Kiana Lewis as usual. Someone that really competes with joy. Always enjoying herself.
She does. I got to talk to her at the beginning of the meet, and I said, give me a quote. What do you want me to talk about today? She said, honestly, it's my last year. I just want to have so much fun and enjoy every moment. And you can just see that she's already doing that.
Coach Jason Butts talking about how behind the scenes, she's someone that's very motivational, very inspirational for the other gymnasts. She's someone that keeps them up if they have a bad day.
Yes, he said she's grown so much in her maturity and just her overall calm demeanor throughout meets. I remember her as a freshman, just coming out, kind of not sure what to expect. Watching her grow throughout the last 4 years has been phenomenal. She's really taken the freshmen, the underclassmen under her wing and showing her how much fun college gymnastics can be.
Scores started rolling. Madison Elmore led up with a 9.35 for Temple. Brooke Alban 9.725 for the Mountaineers in the second spot. Kiana Lewis matching Carly Nelson with a 9.75. So West Virginia halfway done. Hannah Weckler gets an 8.875 after that fall on bars. So now Temple, a little bit more pressure on them because you want to drop that score.
Absolutely. Nice blind change there. Pike Yeager into immediate shooter, a very difficult combination.
Reese DeHaan made her collegiate debut 2 days ago with a 9.7 on bars. Sophomore from Bradenton, Florida.
Got a little caught up there with her hands. You can tell Temple's just competing a little bit ahead of themselves. I think something that Coach Steele's going to want to see is them just really being in the moment, not thinking too far ahead. We'll see how they can recover on this event.
Physically, how difficult is it to compete twice in 3 days, especially this early in the season?
It is. It's really difficult. It's interesting enough. I asked what kind of was the mindset behind that. She said, we just got to get started.
Abby Pearson, her first event of her 5th year as a Mountaineer.
Huge vault for Abby Pearson. She's capable of doing the 1.5. I did get to chat with her about competing the 1.5. She said, Kaylin, I'm just so confident in the full. I just want to enjoy my senior year, keep my body healthy, and I mean, it's a beautiful vault.
Incredibly consistent too. The last 8 meets of the year, she had a 9.85 or better every single meet.
Last year, she did post a 9.925, and if you know the scoring for a Yurchenko full, it starts at a 9.95. So essentially, that means that one judge did give her a 9.95, which would be a perfect score for that vault. She's definitely capable of sticking it, so we'll see how she does this season.
And she does have a 9.95 in her career, that coming back to 2022. 9.725 for Abby Pearson as well. So a pair of 9.75s, a pair of 9.725s for West Virginia. Still waiting the score for DeHaan on bars. Angelina Hogan is on deck for the Owls.
It's important to talk about too, Michael, with scoring this time of year. You do want to see at least 9.75s and above. Obviously, as the season gets going, you're going to want to see those 9.8s, 9.8 pluses to really maximize team scores. But for the first time out, 9.7s are pretty good.
Jason Butt saying he wasn't sure if he was going to get a 190 or a 196 out of his team.
Again, it just goes back to just kind of that up in the air feeling of you just got to get started, not sure how it's going to go. You want the athletes to be prepared, but added pressure with judges and a crowd, you just never know what's going to happen.
Angelina Hogan awaiting her turn. She competed bars for the first time in her career on Friday, had a 9.625 at the Keystone Classic. Discussion among the judges on the scoring of this third routine. Emma Wary and Sierra Munns will close things out for West Virginia. Sarah Stallings and Serena Whalen are on deck behind Hogan for Temple. So this West Virginia team, Munns is the only Mountaineer that hasn't competed for WVU in vault. But then the next 3 events, you've got 3 newbies in bars, 2 in beam, 3 and 4, and also it's about finding the order that works the best for scoring purposes too at this time of year.
Absolutely. Something, again, we don't really talk about in gymnastics is you kind of want to do score building. So typically you start with the first athlete up being your most consistent, one that's going to post a good score, typically a clean routine, one that you know is going to nail it, and then you build scores from there. So it's always interesting to see how these teams kind of play with lineups, see who's comfortable in what position, and then that really determines postseason for teams.
Saw a special moment there. The Mountaineer visiting with a young fan. It's just, Jason Butts talked about it yesterday. Family atmosphere is what you get at a lot of these gymnastics meets where it's fun, it's clean, you see joy, you see competitiveness, you see great athleticism.
It's a really, really fun sport. Like I said, it's my favorite time of the year. I mean, look at these sparkles. You get some kids in the stands. They just love it. I'm really excited for this WVU team. It's just going to be a fun time in the Coliseum this year.
Judges still conferring here. West Virginia celebrating 50 years of gymnastics, and really the 70s were such a big time for women's sports across the board with Title IX. West Virginia bringing in their program 50 years ago. And then 1 year later, Linda Burdett Good takes over, and what an icon she is for this athletic program, not just the gymnastics program.
It's interesting we talk about Jason talking about the family atmosphere. Linda really brought that to this program. That's something she really valued. It's been, God bless her soul, Linda was such a staple for this program and just honestly a staple in women's sports in general. She was way ahead of her times. She's always promoted a family atmosphere. Jason said it's been fun to watch this team kind of see that this year and kind of go back in history and just see the pride of West Virginia, and that all came from Linda.
And you saw the name, really the first family in West Virginia for gymnastics, the Rettons, Sherry, an All-American, of course, Mary Lou, the gold medalist in 1984. Back underway here with Temple on bars, Angelina Hogan.
Really pretty bar routine going. She's got a good line. A little short on that shoot over handstand. That's one of the things the judges is going to want to see is kind of those stuck handstands. Really showing that execution. A little better there, still a little short. Line full into a double tuck landing. Again, good recovery. You can definitely tell they're pretty jittery over there on bars to get started, but again, it's hard to do a double weekend, especially your first weekend out.
Krista Hahn had a 9.45 in front of her. That was what the scoring discussion was about. So we'll see what Hogan does in that fourth position. Emma Wary vaults fifth for West Virginia.
Emma does a beautiful vault. She's actually the only 10-0 vault. She does a front handspring, front pike half. Really difficult, a lot of strength, a lot of power needed. Take a replay here. You can see she does a front entry. A little bit under rotated, takes that step forward, chest is a little bit down, but again, just got to get started this season.
Saved her best for last year, had a 9.9 on vault here at the NCAA Regional, led the Mountaineers, and really was in the mix to maybe be a qualifier out of regionals on vault.
Emma, as a sophomore, has brought so much to this team already. Already competing 3 events. She's going to add another event of bars this year. I'm really excited to see her. She is a competitor. She's very poised. She does big gymnastics, and she enjoys what she does. She's definitely a competitor and somebody that this team really relies on just as a sophomore.
That ability to be in 3 events is huge this year as well, because this Mountaineer team has really been beaten up. 2 regulars in Anna Lee as well as Brooke Irwin are out at this point that would have absolutely been in 2, 3, 4 events for Jason Butts today.
Unfortunately, it's a part of sports. You never know who's going to go down. You have to have people backed up and ready to go. Emma's really stepped in that role, especially in the bar lineup after losing Anna, after losing Brooke Irwin this year. You know, those are people that were really important to this bar lineup. So to see athletes step up, such as Emma, Carly on some events, you know, it just makes the team stronger, and it really gives that depth throughout the season.
9.425 the score for Hogan for Temple. This is Sarah Stallings, and she was the event winner on Friday at the Houston Invitational in this event.
Another beautiful blind. Pike Jaeger, that is so difficult, but look at her toe point. Beautiful line, toes pointed, very stuck shoot over handstand there. Another good aggressive handstand. Line full and a stuck landing held. That's the perfect execution that the judges want to see.
Sarah Munns will vault for West Virginia. The 9.7 from Wary is the low score right now, so Munns trying to beat that to get that 9.7 dropped. Interesting story with her was that Texas Women's for 2 years, competed against West Virginia both years, including here, transferred in this year.
Nice vault by Sierra. Jason was saying that she's almost too fast for her own good. The fun thing about Sierra is she does have that college competitiveness already under her belt. She gets to come in with these new freshmen and again, just kind of teach them what college gymnastics can be about. You can just see in her attitude. He said she's just so much fun. I'm excited to see her as a Mountaineer.
So West Virginia with 6 clean vaults on their first rotation.
Good start for the Mountaineers. Again, we want to see those scores get into the 9.8 range, but good start for the Mountaineers. We're in that 9.7 and above. We'll see how we transition into bars.
Speaking of that 9.8 range, we saw the score flashed on the other side. Sarah Stallings with a 9.85. We'll see what the judge on the near side says. But that's really what Temple needed after a bit of a slow start on bars.
Again, we talked to Coach Steele about their bar lineup. It is an event that they struggle with. She was actually surprised with how they did on Friday. You can see a little bit of the jitters coming out today, but covering really nicely.
A 9.8 the score for Stallings. This is Serena Whalen, who Hillary Steele identified as really one of the leaders for this Temple team.
Beautiful routine going. Nice Tkachev. Again, you can see that nice toe point all the way through her handstand. Dismount here. Beautiful full in. Fortunately, anticipated the landing a little too much. She wasn't quite ready for the ground there.
Had a 9.7 in their opening meet, has a 9.925 on this, so you know that she can build towards that kind of score as the season goes on for the Owls. So both teams have completed their scoring. We'll see some exhibitions today as well, including one for West Virginia. Ellen Collins is getting ready. Mountaineers finished with a 9.75 for Munsley, 48.7 their score for the first rotation.
For the viewers watching, we are doing exhibition routines today. Again, 6 competitors do compete on each event, 5 scores count. We do exhibitions just to give athletes some competitive experience. Very difficult Yurchenko half. It is a 9.95 start value, excuse me. Very difficult because you're coming on a blind landing. Ellen's worked really hard to crack that vault lineup.
She really made a leap last year to become part of the lineup for floor and become a part of this team's general lineup.
And going back to the 50th year anniversary of gymnastics here at West Virginia, she's one that is a legacy athlete here. Her mother was an athlete here. Her father was an athlete here. Just a really awesome kid that understands what bleeding blue and gold means. And again, that just kind of is a memorial of Linda Burdett Good and just something that Jason really, really wants this team to buy into.
9.05 the score for Wayland, and just a 47.075 for Temple and Bars, not what they wanted in that first rotation. Exhibition for them as well before we move on to the second rotation.
Really nice routine going here. Nice aggressive handstand. Again, these exhibition routines are so important. There's a little less pressure because your score doesn't necessarily count, but it does kind of give the coaches the idea of who's going to compete under pressure well and who's going to be the best options for the lineups.
Well, especially after you had a little bit of a rocky rotation on Bars, it's a chance to maybe win a spot for next week when they compete. So 2 teams will swap now. West Virginia will head to Bars. Vault up next for Temple. Coming up now on ESPN Plus after the break. Back at the WP Coliseum, Michael Minnick alongside Kaylin Moak. 1 rotation in the book. West Virginia with a 48.7, Temple a 47.075. Mountaineers right on par about where you would normally get for a first meet. They got 3 outstanding vaults in that rotation, starting in the leadoff spot from Carly Nelson.
Again, this position for the Mountaineer team is so important. You can see that she stuck that landing. She's in between those white lines. Very good job.
Kiana Lewis in that 3rd position, putting up a 9.75 as well. You can see her excitement.
Again, overall clean vault, a little bit off to the side. Those are things they can really fix up.
And the Mountaineer debut for Sierra Munz.
Beautiful vault. She's so quick. She's just got to learn to spot that landing. Like I feel like a broken record here. It's just got to be first time out, see how we do.
And then coming off an event win on Friday, Sarah Stallings leading the way on Bars for Temple.
Beautiful bar routine. You know, it's hard when you face some adversity, but to have somebody in the lineup that's confident is just going to build the team's confidence as the year goes on.
So we talked earlier about Bars really being a pleasant surprise for Temple. 48.575 on Friday. They drop a 1.5 points today in their second competition in 3 days. Here's the scoring for West Virginia. Right along the board, solid. You dropped the 9.7 from Wary, which is not a bad score to drop.
Not at all, Michael. These are good scores to start the season. Easy things to clean up. Vaults are good. We just got to work on the little details.
Landings and emphasis for Jason Butts, and I'm sure that'll be something that's talked about in practice this week. For Temple, you dropped the 8.875 off the fall from Weckler, but even some of the routines that were completed, you had Waylon struggle with a landing. Not where you want to be if you're Temple through 1 rotation.
You know, it's not, but in talking to Coach Steele, something she wanted to work on today was just fighting through the routines. There weren't a ton of falls on these routines, but they were fighting through every 10th of it, and that's going to make a big difference in their confidence.
We asked her kind of what the goal would be for today, and she said she wants to see 4 good rotations from her team. She wants to see that consistency mentally as well as physically to get the job done.
Something she really wanted to focus on as well is just to compete free, let go of expectations, erase what happened on Friday, erase what happened on Bars, and just get the momentum going on the next event.
Celebrating 50 years of gymnastics here at West Virginia University. The 90s were a great decade for this program. Lots of 10-0s, lots of conference championships for Linda Burdett Good and her squad.
You can see just in the statistics here, Michael, is just like the overall advancements that WVU Gymnastics made over the 20 years that you saw in the previous slide. 10-0s on multiple events, Eagle champions, just overall great for the Mountaineers.
Kind of needs to come full circle where you have an Eagle school in Temple here at West Virginia, where Linda Burdett Good did so much to really found that conference before West Virginia moved to the Big 12 and joined that conference as well.
Just talking about just how women's sports has evolved in general, but how West Virginia Gymnastics has evolved. They've upped the standards. We're in the Big 12 now. So just overall, it's exciting for this WVU Gymnastics team.
Instructions there from Zakira Muhammad. Going with the sparkly shoes as well as the sparkly top today.
She
going all out
looks
for
fantastic.
The first meet.
It's sparkle season.
That's right.
She's playing the part.
Jason Butts giving some final instructions to his team. You see the Temple unit huddling before vault. Here's the lineup for Temple. Weckler will try and bounce back from that struggle on bars. She'll lead off on vault. And then you've got an experienced group, seniors and juniors the rest of the way. They only have 2 returnees in this vault rotation from last year.
I'm really excited to see how Hannah can come back from the mistakes she made on bars. I think that'll really be a test for her confidence and just for the Temple Gymnastics team.
We'll see Madison Durunda, who we profiled in the Open as well, compete for the first time today. West Virginia, you see all across the board in terms of experience. They'll have Lowe, McDonald, and Wary all making their competitive debuts on bars.
I'm excited to watch this WVU bar lineup. It's not an event that necessarily is their easiest event. It's a little bit tougher on them mentally. I think Jason just wants to see them let loose, go out, swing on the bars, and just see how they can get started today.
Miranda Smith in that leadoff spot. She's really been snake bit with weird injuries, healthy and able to compete in that leadoff spot today.
I'm also excited to see Miranda compete this year. Again, she's had such setbacks over and over again. She's so motivated. She's just an athlete that leads by example and just her overall work ethic. Really excited for her.
Weckler's vault.
Again, you say that Yurchenko half, really difficult vault. It's one of those vaults that you don't want to pull back too much where you might land on, or take a step backwards as she just did, but you don't want to overdo it. Overall, great recovery from her bars.
Vaulted 9.625 in her competitive debut on Friday. Here's Miranda Smith for West Virginia.
The thing I like about Miranda Smith on bars is she swings very aggressively. Beautiful free hip handstand into Tkachev. You can see how aggressive she is. Aggressive on that handstand and a nice tight shoot over handstand there. Another good pass, gearing up for the dismount. And a nice double layout. She does take that step backwards. I want to see a little bit more of that held dismount, or held landing, excuse me. But overall, great start from the Mountaineers.
Career best of a 9.8 last year, and you see the big smile. If she can start like that and do that the rest of the year, she's going to beat that score pretty easily, I think, by the end of the year.
Absolutely.
Summer Rusky on deck to vault for Temple. Did not vault on Friday, so this is her season debut. She vaulted twice last year, both early in the season. Career best of a 9.5 for Rusky, but really the first time she's vaulted competitively in almost a year, January 20th of last year. Junior from Taneytown, Maryland, so a pretty short trip down I-70 to I-68 for her family.
Nice Yurchenko full. You can see a little bit on the table. She was a little bit scrunched down. Judges are really going to want to see nice tight shapes. Let's take a look at it again here. You can see her arms are a little bit bent. She loses a little bit of her pop off the table, kind of a little bit under rotated, but good vault.
And we'll see a Mountaineer freshman for the first time today, Amber Lowe.
Nice blind change. So a Pike Jaeger caught a little bit close, recovers with a really nice handstand. Amber is such a competitor, even just as a freshman. She looks really calm out there. Beautiful blind change into a double tuck dismount. Opens a tad early, but for a freshman first meet out in the Coliseum, I have chose that is one of the best feelings as an athlete.
On the vault for Temple, Madison Duranda.
Leckler with a 9.575, Ruski a 9.6 to start things off on vaults for Temple. We profiled Madison Duranda in the open, competing in 3 events today. This will be her first.
Another beautiful Chenko half. You can see that stuck landing there. There is nothing that a judge can take on that. Held with control, didn't move a muscle. Beautiful vault. Take a replay here. A little bit sideways on the table, but she lands within those lines. She clicks those heels together. That's something the judges also look at, is such control on that landing. Beautiful vault for Madison.
We talked about score building earlier, a 9.75 leading off for Smith for West Virginia. Winning the second score from Amber Lowe and then Abby Pearson on deck.
Abby competes a very unique skill that you don't see a lot in NCAA gymnastics. It's very difficult. It's an E-level skill. Line change into what's called a Yezava right there. It's a straddle back half. Abby's also one that swings very aggressively on bars. You can see how strong she is. And those handstands, a nice toe front half piked off the bar. I really think if Abby can just let loose on this event, in addition to the 3 events that she's a rock star on, she's going to have an amazing season.
Yeah, I mean, that's her worst event. She looked pretty good.
There's another look at that Yezava. Very cool trick. Again, an E-level skill. A lot of bonus in that. Good routine for Abby.
Vault from Renee Shugman for Temple in the 4th position. Celebration there from Abby Pearson.
I'm excited to see Temple. The replay of that vault there. Another nice Yurchenko full. She lifts her head a little bit at the landing, pikes down, takes that hop. But I'm excited to see Temple really rebounding. That's something that Coach Still really wanted to see. Forget the mistakes and just move on and be present in where they are.
Yeah, Duranda had a 9.775, so she's in first place in that event. She beat all the Mountaineers that vaulted. So that's exactly like you said. That's good to see from this Temple team as they try and build some scores in their second rotation. Waiting the score for Abby Pearson, and then we'll have another debut, Jaden McDonald for West Virginia.
Jaden is a freshman this year. She's competed gymnastics at a very high level. She was an elite growing up. She's battled some injuries as well. I'm really excited to see how she handles this bar routine. When she does make this bar routine, I had the opportunity to sneak into practice a couple weeks ago. It's beautiful.
West Virginia, it's interesting with their lineup for bars. You've got veteran, freshman, somebody making their debut in the event.
And that's something to talk about, Michael, is sometimes these lineups are pretty strategic. You might sprinkle in some athletes that are confident in between some athletes that aren't quite there yet, just to kind of, again, mix those lineups up, see what's going to work best towards the end of the season when it really, really matters.
Waiting still on the score for Abby Pearson. Judges doing the math. Jaden McDonald wait a little bit longer to make her Mountaineer debut. On deck for Temple on vault, Hannah Stallings and Mackenzie Aresta, 2 of their veterans. Scores going up for Abby Pearson in just a second. Be a 9.65, so one judge had a 9.7, one judge had a 9.6.
Let's see what Jaden can do here. You can see how beautiful her line is. Beautiful Maloney into a pack, caught a little bit close, needs to be patient here, able to pull off a beautiful pirouette. Let's see if she can get this dismount. Nice big full in, gets the stick.
She can. That's the answer.
She can. A little bit ahead of herself. You could see when she was transitioning to the high bar, she missed her foot a little bit. It'll be a little bit of adduction. But those are those first meet jitters. Freshman, beautiful routine. If she can pull that off first meet, you can kind of see right here. Just gets a little ahead of herself. Nerves got in the way. But she pulled it off with the stick. Beautiful.
Hannah Stallings' vault.
Unfortunately, a fall there for Hannah. Didn't quite get a good block off the table. A little under-rotated. Again, we keep talking about the nerves of the first meet out. You kind of just have to let loose, get them out, not be afraid to make mistakes.
Schuchman had a 9.675 in front of her, so you're in a good position. You had 4 good vaults, have a one there that was a little bit of a disappointing one, but still in a good position if you can get a solid 6 vault from Aresta to get out of this rotation with a solid score. Brooke Albin waiting her turn. Jason Butt saying that Brooke's someone that he thinks could be an all-arounder by the end of the year.
Brooke is such a hard worker. She's another one that leads just by example of her work ethic. She's so calm. Her demeanor is almost just like, I mean, she's just so chill. She competes with such poise, and she does really good gymnastics. Just a quick moment for the leotard. Isn't it great?
Yes.
I love the first meets of the season when everyone debuts new leotards. This one for West Virginia is not a new one, but it's one of my favorites.
You're an expert on these things because you designed them.
I did design this one. The more sparkles, the better.
I like it. You were the sparkles today. You
gotta play the part.
Yeah, you put the method behind the madness with that. Money where your mouth is. McDonald with a 9.625 in her debut.
Again, not a bad score for the first meet out. Definitely things she can improve on, but she made the routine.
Brooke Albin competed on bars in every meet but one for West Virginia. 9.875, her career best.
Brooke starts with a nice big ganger, a little bit close to the bar. Again, you can kind of see just each of these teams a little bit rushed with their nerves. She also is an athlete that competes with bars very aggressively, and I like to see that. Nice double layout. She did struggle with that a little bit in warm-ups, just getting ahead of herself. Again, time of the year where you just got to get these routines under your belt. You can fix the little things later.
Stallings with a 8.7, so that's the score that Temple would love to drop if Aresta can put up a solid vault here for the Owls.
For the viewers that don't know, a fall is a half a point deduction. So that's where the 5/10 comes from in that 8.7 plus the deductions on top of that.
9.725 for Aresta on Friday.
Nice Yurchenko full. Again, each of these athletes are just a little bit ahead of themselves in finishing these tricks. She pulled her head up a little bit, wasn't able to spot the landing like she should have. Takes that step forward, chest down. There's going to be some deductions there.
What's the hardest part of the vault to have ready at this time of year?
Honestly, bringing the vault out onto harder surfaces is the hardest part. You're not quite there mentally, you're not quite there with your confidence. So sometimes you got to be a little bit iffy with these injuries. You don't want to start out too soon with, throwing things you're not quite ready for. That's why you're seeing some of the lineup changes in Temple from Friday.
Treatment there for Temple. Emma Wary will be the 6th Mountaineer on bars.
This is an event that Emma worked very hard in the off-season to bring to the table this year.
Competing at it in the first time as a sophomore for West Virginia.
Stunning line, good toe handstand into a Maloney. Nice pack salto. Half pirouette right on top of the bar. You can see her regroup there. That's really important for her routine. A little bit rushed on that handstand. Got the beautiful toe pike half off the bar.
Another gymnast that was very consistent last year, 9.8s in all of her last 3 meets on vault, making her debut on bars with a solid routine.
Again, it's my favorite thing to see these athletes grow with each year. Jason always talks about kind of starting a little bit more conservatively with freshmen sometimes and then adding events each year. It's really important with your confidence. It's really important for longevity and just overall, you know, overall gymnastics experience in college.
As we saw in the first rotation, we'll have a couple exhibitions. All the scoring routines have been completed. Aresta finishes with a 9.5 for Temple. So a 48.125 on the vault for Temple. Mountaineers with a 48.4 awaiting the score from Wary. So another solid rotation from them halfway through. Bit of a stumble on that landing for Temple.
A look at that exhibition vault. Again, that Yurchenko half is a 9.95 vault. It's a difficult vault. It's almost a little harder than the full just because of the blind landing. It's a very technical vault.
Again, fans are enjoying an additional exhibition performance on each apparatus.
This will not be a scoring debut, but it will be a debut for West Virginia, another one of these talented freshmen.
She's very talented. I've had the opportunity to watch Journey grow throughout her club career, and I'm excited to see her as a Mountaineer this year. She's battled some injuries with her elbow this year. She had a little bit of a surgery to clean out things. So just putting her in exhibition, Jason feels like will build her confidence and just hopefully work her way into that lineup.
Journey Lane, the Tennessee native. Still waiting to get the score from Wary to officially complete West Virginia's total for this second rotation. 95.2 is the score for Temple halfway through. West Virginia sitting at 97.1 pending this score for Wary. Right now the score to drop would be the 9.625, which again is not bad for the first meet.
It's not, and you know, Jason wasn't sure what to expect going into bars. It was an event, like I said earlier, that they struggled with through the preseason. I think they pulled it off well. They made the bar routines. That's the important part. There weren't a lot of falls. They just have to adjust, get some confidence in themselves to make those aggressive handstands, go for the stuck landings. Those are easy things to fix. I'll tell you, there's nothing like waiting so long for judges to flash a score. Your first meetup as a freshman in the Coliseum, it is so hard to simulate those nerves in practice. You can try all the things, but until you're standing here getting ready to go, it's a surreal feeling.
It's a 9.725 for Wary. So one judge had a 9.65, one had a 9.8. What maybe would account for the difference in those two scores?
Again, it's the beginning of the year. There's rules such as up to level, making sure that they're up to level on their event, making sure they have all the bonus combinations they need to get that 10-0 start value. Sometimes there's a little bit of discrepancy at the beginning of the year, but as the events go on, hopefully those get cleared up.
All right, Journey Lane getting her Mountaineer career underway.
A very unique, wily kip. Don't see that a ton. Doesn't quite make the connection. Another look at it there.
And again, an exhibition, so it's okay to just work on something and then get off.
It is. You know, do you want to go up and fall in front of everybody? No, but it's such good experience. I think the best way you learn is to have some mistakes. You know, you can't get caught up on it, but just to go out, have fun, laugh through the mistakes. You can see her smiling over there. It's something she'll look back on when she's a senior and go, remember that first meet?
And watching this freshman group, they've come so far from the inner squad when I first saw them in the fall. And I think a lot of ability, a lot of power. It's just finding that consistency that's going to be different at the college level.
Absolutely. It's important, too, to notice how long the preseason is. Gymnastics preseason is months long. You know, you have to battle with being a student, being an athlete, and just, you know, you're tired. It's a long season. This is when the fun part begins.
Journey Lane finishing up, getting a hug from Jason Butts.
Again, definitely first meet jitters. Those are things that can be easily worked out.
So one exhibition each way, concluding our second rotation here in West Virginia. We'll sit at 97.2. Temple finishing up at 95.2. Step aside here, come back with West Virginia coach Jason Butts after this on Big 12 Now on ESPN+. West Virginia leading Temple 97.2 to 95.2. Michael Minnick here alongside Kaylin Milk, and joined here at the intermission by West Virginia head coach Jason Butts. Coach, thanks once again for making time for us. Went for the handshake.
Yeah.
Let's work backwards. What did you see in that bars rotation from your team?
You know what? I saw a lot of fight. I mean, we didn't know exactly what we were going to be expecting going into that one. It's a lot of new faces, a lot of freshman routines going, and they handled it great. 6 for 6 was awesome. 6 for 6 on vault was awesome. That's all we can ask them to do right now. The judging, but it's the first meet of the year. It's their first meet too. So, but so far so good.
One of the debuts we're seeing right here on the screen right now. Amber Lowe, evaluate how she did her first time out.
Oh my gosh, I could tell she was a little bit nervous before she started going, but she nailed the Jaeger, she nailed, her pack salto, and she's just a pretty bar swinger in general, And then Emma, that was also her first routine in the Coliseum on bars. She also did a phenomenal job.
So West Virginia leading. Let's start at the beginning. Vault, what did you see from that first rotation?
I saw much better landings than what we have seen in the past, and that was one of our main focuses. I thought they were pretty clean. I think it was a little conservative, but given the first meet with the nerves, and this is their first time, being on these the hard landings here in the Coliseum, I was very happy with it, and the energy was great. And so far, they're calm, which is what we wanted, and they're just having a good time out here and doing great gymnastics.
Jason, one more thing. We're halfway through the meet. What do you want to see the rest of the way through?
I want to see that calmness continue. We have to be able to flip the switch. We got to be from, go from having fun to that laser focus and the person that's on the event. So, in this event that we're going to right now is more important than anything to have that laser focus. But warm-ups look great, and we just got to go over there and do our thing.
West Virginia head coach Jason Butts, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck the rest of the way.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jason.
Wonderful perspective to have Coach Jason Butts here with us. Let's take a look, Kaylin, at what Temple did. A much better second rotation on vault than what we saw at the beginning on bars.
Yeah, I think Coach Steele overall will be excited about just coming back from a bars rotation. You can see that vault there, stuck landing. I think she's going to be really proud. Hopefully they just stay in the moment, can continue this energy through the next two events.
You saw the energy there from Coach in the background, clapping for all of her vaulters. Consistent performance, once again, is something that they've asked for. Had to drop a fall, but otherwise, a strong rotation for the Owls. There's the scores. You saw the drop for Stallings, but everybody else consistent. Durunda leading the way in her first event of the day, 9.775. I think it's got to be nicer for her to reset a little bit, only do 3 events after doing 4 for the first time on Friday.
And you can see in these scores, again, just a little bit conservative. We're seeing the 9.5s, 9.6s. Those are things that as confidence builds for both of these teams throughout the year, you're going to see those 9.7s, 9.8s.
Coach Butts just talking about West Virginia's consistency so far, 12 for 12 on their routines. Their second rotation coming on bars. And again, consistent scores up and down. Miranda Smith leading the way in that leadoff position with a 9.75.
I think that's exactly where she wants to be as a leadoff. We get that 9.75 as the season goes on. Again, confidence builds. We're going to start to see those 9.8s.
3 debuts, as we mentioned earlier, as well in that rotation on bars for West Virginia. We'll begin on beam. We just saw Amber Lowe for the first time as a Mountaineer on uneven bars, leading off on beam, which is rare for a freshman to do.
It is rare for a freshman to lead off. That just shows how much confidence that this coaching staff and this team has in her on this, in this particular role. I'm really excited to see her energy come from bars, having a great first, routine in the Coliseum as a freshman, first collegiate meet. We'll see how she does.
And then you saw the rest of the way. You've got a veteran in Pearson in the second spot, and then freshmen and sophomores again behind her.
Again, beam has been a strong event for the Mountaineers for the past few years. They graduated a few routines from last year, so these athletes definitely have to step up and get the job done.
This is Temple's best event. They set a school record on floor last year.
Something that was interesting in talking to Coach Steele about, they didn't really have confidence on floor this past year. She said she really pushed them hard in the preseason to step out of their comfort zone, and they really accepted the challenge to push themselves really hard, and they had a fantastic start on Friday on floor.
Yeah, their opening score on floor was better than their first 5 meets on floor last year. Here's Amber Lowe.
Beam is an event that takes so much concentration, full turn, arguably one of the hardest tricks on balance beam. So simple, but you got to stay focused.
That beam is the width of a cell phone, by the way, if you're at home.
Very unique series, side aerial, lots of bonus in that combination. Shows beautiful split in that split 3/4. You can tell she has a little bit of bobble checks on each of the skills she's done so far. Overall, she looks calm. Round off 1.5 dismount for the freshman. Very, very impressed. Overall, great routine, great start for the Mountaineers.
So 2 for 2 for Amber Lowe in her Mount Senior debut. The freshman accepting high fives. We'll take a look at the end of this routine.
Round off 1.5 dismount. Does take a tiny hop forward. Again, those are gonna come as confidence builds. She's gonna get that stick.
Summer Ruski, a consistent performer on floor for this Temple squad, competed in every meet last year. Career best 9.875.
First pass, front through double tuck. I just love to watch Flora. It shows each of these athletes, their personalities. They're able to bring so much fun and just entertainment to the crowd. You can see her teammates getting involved in the background. I think one of the most difficult things as you begin your season is to have that endurance. As season goes on, you're used to competing week in and week out. Those first couple routines are tough.
And she's doing it for the second time in 3 days.
Which is also tough.
And really less than 3 days because it was a night meet on Friday and a day meet on a Sunday.
Last pass. Round off handspring double pike. Does land a tiny bit short. Good start for Temple.
Yep, solid lead off. Addison Durunda will be on deck. Abby Pearson awaiting her turn on beam for West Virginia.
It's ironic that Abby's about to do her last beam routine in the Coliseum. I can still remember her very first beam routine at Penn State her freshman year. I believe she went 9.9 on that routine. Very memorable moment for me as her coach at the time. So excited for her to just continue to thrive on this event. And I was able to talk to her this afternoon right before the meet. She said, you know, last one, best one. I'm just going to make the most of it.
She has just continued to build throughout her career. 264 points as a freshman, 350 as a sophomore, 371 as a junior, 430 last year as a senior, now entering her 5th year. And doing the math, Kaylin, if she has a year similar to last year, she's going to finish her career in the top 10 in this program in points.
Jason just cannot say enough of just about the way that Abby leads by example. She works so hard. She continues to push. As a 5th-year athlete, that is so hard on your body. She had to deal with a COVID year. She's still so motivated. She's continuing to push on bars. And just for the underclassmen to watch somebody like her in that role just gives them so much motivation and confidence as they build through their career.
And you can see she's focused, but she's also having fun with this little bit of a lull. 9.75 for Lowe to lead off. Very solid for West Virginia on beam. Final breath for Abby Pearson. Rusky leads off with a 9.6 on 4 for Temple.
Again, just to reiterate, balance beam for West Virginia has been a strong event the past couple of years. So to be able to crack into that lineup, not only just as a freshman, but as a leadoff, very, very impressed with Amber.
Abby Pearson.
Abby Pearson's ready to go. Her last first.
The biggest thing about beam is just the mental aspect of it. You have to be so focused. You can tell she's a little bit nervous.
Able to save it though.
The good thing about Abby, she has so much difficulty. If she misses a connection,
Does fall though.
just a little ahead of herself.
I think that's the disadvantage of that long wait, is you maybe think about it too much.
You do, and that's what, again, going back to just the mental aspect of balance beam. The skills themselves are skills that these girls have done for so long, but again, you can try to simulate the emotions you're gonna feel and the nerves you're gonna feel in regular time during a meet, all you want during preseason, but until you're really out there, you gotta stay focused. Keywords, you have to make sure mentally you're tough on this event, and that also comes, throughout the year.
Still pieces to work on though. You can work on the dismount, you can work on your connections, get that tuned up for the next time. So West Virginia will have their younger gymnasts have to pick up the veteran, Abby Pearson. Mountaineers would love to drop that score. Madison Durunda, coming off a strong vault, will be the next competitor on the floor for the Owls. Trying to bounce back after a 9.425 in her season debut back on Friday. Season best, career best last year was a 9.825.
Double tuck to start. There's something about a floor team when you get that first pass underway. You almost just you're focused in a weird way, but you just get to have so much fun. Very nice jump series there.
And I'm sure once you get the first pass out of the way, the muscle memory takes over even more.
It does. Something for the audience to note. You'll see some floor routines with just 2 passes, other routines with 3 passes. She ends that combination pass, really difficult front layout to Rudy. Because of the difficulty of that pass, she's able just to do a 2-pass routine, also added some difficulty in her leap. So you'll definitely see a variation there through both of these teams.
And then the dance as well, you can kind of alter the score with how much of that you do and what you do in the dance. Quick underway on the beam. Mountaineers will turn to Miranda Smith.
This is Miranda Smith's debut on the balance beam. She has a very, very difficult series here. I mentioned how aggressive she is on bars. Watch how aggressive this series is. Very difficult. Standing layout, standing layout. I think this is a long-awaited event for her, just from her injuries and her setbacks. Showing good split in that switch side. Very unique pike jump. You don't see that. You do have to show different shapes in your jumps on the balance beam. It's all part of that up to level and those bonus combinations. Round off 1.5 dismount, absolutely stuck. I think she's pretty much nailed that controlled landing. Again, first event debut for Miranda on balance beam. Beautiful job.
For Temple, Hannah Scully.
Had a great day. Mountaineers top scorer on bars. Very strong third routine on beam. Durunda posted a 9.75 on floor. We'll see what Hannah Stallings can do in the third position for the Owls.
Beautiful start to this floor routine. That's another thing about floor and balance beam. You can show so much artistry. Each athlete is so different. Some athletes are more flexible, some are more powerful. Being able to show those lines when you got them, stunning. Round off 1.5 front layout for her opening pass.
Time to build in a 9.675 in her debut on Friday. Miranda Smith with a 9.8 on beam.
Difficult jump combination there. Switch half with a ring at the end of it. And handspring Rudy. Again, another two pass routine. You can see in the difficulty in her jumps, she's able to do just those two passes. And ends with another beautiful pose.
Excellent routine for the junior from Raleigh, North Carolina, building on success from her first 2 years. And guess what? Another debut for West Virginia. Julia Brown on beam.
Julia is another one that's coming back from an Achilles injury last year. This event is something she is so good at.
Reset herself here.
Again, not what you want to see after having a fall from Abby. But if we're going to make those mistakes, if these teams are going to make mistakes, good to get them out at the beginning of the year.
Mountaineers will have to count a fall now. Top 5 scores out of the 6 do count. So again, now it's about finishing better, trying to beat that 9.05, trying to get that score up a little bit so that Pearson's score is still the one you drop.
That's something that's really important about gymnastics, is that every 10th matters. When you do have mistakes, regardless of what those look like, you have got to recover. You have to fight for every 10th. She just nailed that round off double full dismount with a stuck landing. That's an extra 10th they don't have to give away after a fall.
And again, first time, just build from here. Get the debut out of the way, get the nerves out of the way, move on to the next one.
Absolutely.
Peyton Monk is on deck as Travis Doak gives some last-minute instructions. Peyton Monk had a heck of a debut on Friday on floor for this Temple side. 9.825, first time out of the gates for the freshman from Hanover Township, Pennsylvania.
And talking to Coach Steele, this is someone she was really excited about. The Temple team has 10 freshmen on board this year. That is such an underclassmen heavy class, but she's been really excited about what they brought forward. She's excited to watch them grow in their confidence and learn from the upperclassmen. She even said that Peyton is looking to add vault this year.
You'd obviously love to have as many veterans back as possible your first year, but does it help maybe to set a tone that you get that group for 4 years as a head coach?
It is. It's exciting. It's definitely a different perspective that we're not used to. Like you just said, you typically want to see your upperclassmen in those roles, but if you can fill those roles with freshmen right off the bat and they do well, look at the opportunity for growth in the next 4 years for Temple.
It's a fun routine for Peyton Monk.
Run through to double pike. She's definitely having some fun. That's something that's hard to teach as a freshman. Again, you're coming out, you're not used to college gymnastics. Club's a little bit more serious than it is in college. And for her to be able to come out, she looks like she's having a great time. What, second meet out?
And I'm sure it was a confidence boost for a Pennsylvania native to go out in the Keystone Classic and do what she did on Friday.
know, it's really fun for these teams to compete with other teams that are in the same region. It's easy for crowds to get here, families get to come support their athletes, and it makes the athletes feel comfortable as well.
We'll see another team from Pennsylvania in 2 weeks, Penn coming to West Virginia. That'll be our next broadcast here on Big 12 and ESPN Plus. Mountaineers at Illinois in between.
Really difficult E-pass to end on. Front handspring, front double full. She takes a little bit of that side step they're going to take for direction on there. But again, second meet out, very fantastic job by Peyton.
I think also you probably look at the bigger picture of what a first weekend for her to start off with 2 performances like that. 8.925 the score for Julia Brown, so that will be the score West Virginia will drop as of right now. They've had 2 falls through 4 routines. In the 5th spot, Carly Nelson.
Really important routine here for Carly. Again, not as much pressure since you're already counting a fall. However, you don't want to make any more mistakes. She's somebody that's competed in this lineup last year. She's confident in this event. We'll see how she does.
Had a 9.875 for last home meet here back on January 29th of last year. Saves that one.
That's a new series for Carly. She competed at back handspring layout step out last year. The front aerial back handspring is a 3/10 combination. Really difficult. Gearing up for the dismount. Back handspring gainer full. She does get that stuck landing. Again, you can tell each of these athletes are just a little bit wobbly up there. First meet out. She really recovered nicely.
I do feel like beam is sometimes the last thing to come along for a team. So like West Virginia last year, they were a little bit slow to get going on beam, but in the year it was one of their best events.
It's important to note with that being said, Michael, is that these scores can be dropped. So ultimately, at the end of the season, 6 scores count towards your NQS, which helps you qualify to the postseason. 3 scores have to be counted on the road. The rest of the scores can be your highest scores. You drop the highest score, you drop the lowest score, and average them out. So these scores can be dropped.
Mountaineers have 5 meets at home too, so a lot of chances to boost that. 9.775 for Monk in the 4th position for Temple. This is their 5th floor competitor, Renee Shugman.
Beautiful opening pass. One of my favorite passes in college gymnastics is a round off 1.5 front full. I just think it's stunning. She did it beautifully.
Shugman, a consistent contributor for this team, 9.75 on 4 on Friday. First team All-Eagle tournament in this event last year. $9.575 the score for Carly Nelson for West Virginia.
Nice tumbling pass here. Fortunately came up a little bit short. You could tell in her round off back handspring she was a little bit squished. Wasn't able to get the power to be able to complete the rotation. Ends up putting her hands down.
Temple opened on floor on Friday. How much is the order of when you do things kind of change your performance?
You know, it's something you just kind of have to deal with. When you're an away team, you always end on the balance beam. It's a tough event to end on, but ultimately come postseason, you don't have control of what event you start on or end on. So you just have to kind of build. You have to be fluid. You have to make sure that you just gain confidence on each of these events. Just a part of the sport.
Emma Wary in the 6th position for West Virginia on beam. She competed in the last 7 meets of the year on beam for the Mountaineers. Had a 9.8 at Rutgers. That was her season best. Also had a 9.8 on the road at Texas Women's last year.
This is an event that Emma is very beautiful on. She just needs to be present in the moment and not get too ahead of herself. Switch leap back handspring layout step out. Again, just a little bit of nerves to finish through. She's covering it with dance nicely. Very difficult skill. That's an E-level skill. It's called a Branny. Emma just has such a beautiful style in this event. You can tell through her toe point, her flexibility. Right there, you can see that straddle half above 180 split. That's exactly what judges want to see. Turn here as she gears up for her dismount. Also a unique dismount there. A gainer front full off the end, does take that step backwards. Again, after having mistakes in front of you, it does put a little bit of added pressure. As a sophomore, she handled it really well.
Floor for Temple.
We've talked a lot about sophomores. You get the 1 year under your belt competitively. You also have 2 preseasons under your belt, so it's a lot more experience than where you were last year when you just had 1 preseason under your belt and no competition.
It definitely changes your mindset for sure.
Brooke Donabedian will bring us home for Temple on 4 following Shukman's 9.025. Donabedian, a regional qualifier last year on 4.
Brooke actually holds a tie for the record on this event, 9.95. Beautiful Rudy layout step out, 3/10 bonus there. Like I was mentioning with Emma on the balance beam, you can see Brooke's style here on floor all the way through her fingertips, her flexibility in her shoulders, releve on those dance moves there. It's all part of the floor exercise.
You mentioned the 9.95 for her last year. She averaged a 9.836. That tells you the consistency that she didn't just have 1 good day. She had a lot of good days.
And as a senior for this team, that consistency is something they need, especially with a team that is so underclassmen heavy. She's going to be a rock again on this team.
9.775 in the opener on Friday. Part of an excellent 4 routine for Temple in that rotation.
Front handspring, front double full. Again, that E pass. Beautiful routine. Great style. You can tell she's a veteran over there.
So that closes out the scoring portion. As we saw in the first rotations, we will have a couple of exhibitions as well. But before that, let's look at the first pass once again for Brooke Donabedian.
Very nice Rudy layout step out there. You can see that her legs were together. I'd like to see a little bit more amplitude on that second flip. Judges are going to want to see that amplitude on both the first Rudy and the layout step out. Again, those are easy things to work on throughout the season.
Exhibition for Wesleyan. This will be Bryn Freeling. And Malari's score coming in is a 9.725 to close out the rotation for Wesleyan. So a 47.9 on beam for the Mountaineers. Not what you want, but certainly a starting point you can build on. Still ahead in the team standings as Donabedian puts up a 9.825 to lead that rotation for Temple on 4.
I'm going to focus in on Bryn here. She is a competitor that didn't have a lot of experience last year, but just look at her demeanor. She's somebody that has so much fun in practice. She brings so much energy to each of her teammates. She's loose. She has a good time. She's really capitalizing on the opportunity just to be a Mountaineer. She finds her role in any way possible. So here we go. Watch her on beam.
Yeah, competed in 3 meets on 4 last year, but this will be her first time on beam. Won't score, of course, but a chance for her to get some experience.
Handspring layout, step out. Full turn, I promise you, that is one of the hardest tricks in gymnastics. Any athlete out there listening to this broadcast will agree.
Yeah, try and do that at home and you'll find out how tough it is.
Let us know how it goes. On a 4-inch beam, by the way. Hitch kick side aerial. Definitely want to show control in that landing, but she does dance out of it really nicely. Round off 1.5 dismount. Again, just an exhibition routine, but there is something so powerful in being able to come out and compete in front of fans, simulate that meet energy. And again, there were some mistakes in this lineup that leaves the door wide open for the next athletes to push into those lineups and ultimately develop the best lineup through the end of the year.
An exhibition on floor as well for Temple. Hugs for Bryn Freeland, just finishing up on beam for West Virginia. You can see the relief in her body language.
Sigh of relief. That first routine is always the hardest. They get easier and easier as you develop your confidence, you develop your experience. I'm excited for Bryn. Front double full E pass. Switch rings, switch half. Difficult jump combination. Judges are definitely going to want to see a little bit more of that 180 split. I know you can't see your teammates on the screen, but I'm watching them having a great time.
How much is that a stress reliever as well when you're not competing and you can just kind of get into somebody else's routine and cheer and be positive?
It's a lot of fun. I think that's what I love about college gymnastics, just the camaraderie, the way that each of these athletes back each other up. It's a long season. Again, I mentioned how long preseason is, but it is so much fun when you have so many people that support you and you just get to go out there and just enjoy these 4 years.
So exhibition complete for Temple. We've got one rotation to go. Time flies when you're having fun here at the Coliseum.
Always.
West Virginia on floor, Temple on beam when we come back here at the Coliseum. Michael Mick alongside Kaylin Milk. West Virginia leading 145 to 275. Despite a bit of struggles on beam, Temple with a solid rotation on floor had to drop a fall, so they were able to still put up a solid score. And now we'll see West Virginia do what they do best on floor, where they've been ranked in the top 25, 29 out of the last 30 weeks. Look at Temple on the floor. Again, started a little slow on bars, but have been good ever since, Kaylin. This is Stallings competing her routine. Peyton Monk, actually.
Really impressed. Like I said, one of the biggest things that Coach Steele wanted to stress was just being in the moment, taking each event as it is. I think they really brought it together on floor. They're continuing to just push through. She's actually excited to see them end on beam after Friday.
Yes, let's talk about Temple on beam. Several falls. They were in first place through 3 rotations in that Keystone Classic. Fell to 4th just because they had to count several falls.
Again, first meet, especially out on the road, it's tough. Beam is such a mental event. I did get a chance to watch those routines from Friday. Beautiful routines, just some falls, but if they can pull it together, they're going to be a great beam team.
West Virginia on beam had to count 1 fall, but they got a great performance out of Amber Lowe in the leadoff spot.
Absolutely. Very proud of Amber here. As a freshman, again, I can't stress enough how important that position is. Another debut routine was Miranda Smith. Again, aggressive beam worker, excited to add some events this year after some setbacks. She nailed it.
And that's needed for this West Virginia team with graduation, with injuries. They need some people to pick up multiple events. Look there at the beam scores again. The score for Brown in her debut was dropped. Pearson also had a fall. But then Lowe, Smith, Nelson, and Wary did a nice job in their 4 positions.
Absolutely. I actually caught Travis on the way. He said, you know what, for the first meet out, I'm not mad about it. They went out aggressively. We have some new people going on this event. Abby, it's very uncharacteristic for her. He's not stressed. The best thing about this is that West Virginia gets to end on their best event, favorite event, a floor party in the Coliseum.
Head coach Travis Doak. It's interesting, speaking of coaches, West Virginia added a new coach this year as well, Jessica Yamson. Now 4 on this staff, Jason Butts, Travis Doak, Zakira Muhammad, Jessica Yamson. Here's the scores for Temple on 4. Again, the Shukman score dropped, so your worst score that you count's a 9-6, which is not bad.
It's not. Again, I feel like I have broken record here today, just reiterating the fact that it is the beginning of the season. You're going to want to see those 9.8s eventually, but these are minor issues that they have to work on in practice.
And it's clear that Monk and Donna Bedian are going to be two consistently good performers for them on 4 that you just got to figure out where to put them in the lineup. Lineup for WestU on 4, it's a veteran group: Kiana Lewis, Brooke Albin, Ellen Collins. We'll see for the first time in a score that counts. Carly Nelson, Amber Lowe in her 3rd event, and Abby Pearson to close it out.
What a better way to end here in the Coliseum. Just the perfect event, like I said, after some mistakes on beam, to end an event that you're so confident in and add some routines on top of that. I just think the depth of West Virginia on 4 is incredible.
Temple, meanwhile, will throw out this lineup on beam: 3 seniors, 2 juniors, and the freshman Megan White.
The cool thing about Megan White, we got to know and talking to Coach Steele, was her mom and her sister actually both were gymnasts. They both were the leadoff on beam. You can see she's in this beam lineup. Coach Steele said it might be an interesting thing to move her to that first position just for the legacy.
Yeah, and she knew she was thinking about it even before she found that out, that she had 2 relatives that had competed first. So that mentality, I guess can be handed down. It's hereditary.
It's really fun.
West Virginia getting pumped up here for floor. We'll begin on beam in this 4th rotation with Renee Shugman. Shugman put up a 9.7 on Friday. She competed in 9 of Temple's meets on beam last year. Season best of a 9.85. Also has the career high 9.875. Senior from Smithtown, New York.
She actually was the leadoff on beam last year. Coach Steele wanted to kind of play with some different lineups. She said, I should have just went with my gut and trusted her. Very beautiful and unique beam series. Front aerial, really difficult.
They switched Shugman and Arrest on the order. Otherwise, it's the same lineup that competed on Friday. I like that to say, yes, we had a bad day, but I still have confidence in all 6 of you that you can get the job done.
Again, I was able to watch those beam routines. There were falls, but otherwise the beam routines were very beautiful. A wonderful routine there. Takes a little hop on the dismount, but there's something so powerful about being able to come back from a meet like you had on Friday, having multiple falls. Coach Steele said she was actually excited to end on this routine again and just kind of have that redemption.
That's good coaching, right? To turn a negative into a positive and say, okay, we get a chance to redeem ourselves. I'm excited to do that.
You absolutely have to. It's sports, it's part of life. It's something that both of these coaches, and talking to them today, have the mindset about. You have to be fluid. You have to just expect whatever comes at you and just be able to roll with it.
Kiana Lewis competed in every meet on the floor for West Virginia last year. Had a 9.9 as her career high, but consistently was 9.8, 9.825, 9.85 at the end of last year.
This is just an event that Kiana is an absolute rock star on. Was in that leadoff position last year. We talk about how important this position is, but when you're about to start a floor party, it's even more important. A little bit under-rotated in that Rudy layout step out. She's got to be able to reset her mindset here. Having some fun with choreography. Taking some extra breaths here before her last pass. We'll talk about how important every 10th matters. I think she picked up that 10th right there. Nice duck double tuck. Very uncharacteristic for Kiana on floor there, but again, first meet out.
Second pass here for Kiana Lewis.
She nailed it. Again, gave away some 10s on that first pass. Absolutely did not give anything away there. That's what you want to see.
Mackenzie Aresta up second on beam for Temple.
Back handspring layout step out. She was a little bit under rotated there. Despite the mistake there, Mackenzie is somebody that Coach Steele says they rely on a lot. She's an upperclassman that just continues to work, kind of like I said about Abby Pearson, just always pushing to add events. You know, just because she's a senior doesn't mean she's just going to coast through. She really wants to capitalize and do the best for her team.
Yeah, added this event this summer. Was just a vault competitor before this year, but now as a senior has picked up beam and is also working on bars heavily.
Back handspring 1.5. Again, just a little bit under rotated. Competing a little bit tentatively.
Had a 9-3 on Friday, so again, just trying to find her footing in this event. Mountaineers second for competitor. We'll see Brooke Albin compete this event for the first time.
I'm excited to see Brooke's personality come out a little bit here on this event. I mentioned earlier, she's just such a calm athlete. I'm excited to see her have some fun. In the air, you can just tell she's a little bit ahead of herself on those landings. Those little foot bobbles are definitely going to be deductions. Nice switch side waffle for added dance combination. Taking in a breath before last pass. Right off handspring, double tuck. She pops that lunge. For the first time out on floor, beautiful routine by Brooke. Like I said, little things here and there, that's gonna come with just gaining confidence out there.
Kiana Lewis had a 9.525 in front of her over on beam. Chopin led up with a 9.8 for the Owls. Aresta, they'd love to drop that 8.95 that they got out of the second spot. Third up for Temple, we mentioned earlier, Megan White.
Beautiful style.
Oh, hard fall for the freshman.
Very difficult series. Back handspring, layout, step out. There's a lot of bonus in that skill itself. There's a lot of pressure to be able to hit that.
Glad to see she's okay though. That was a hard landing.
Again, just beautiful leaps.
So Temple will have to count a fall on beam.
Round off 1.5 dismount. Little hop to the side.
So halfway done for Temple on beam, 3 routines to go. Mountaineers, third for competitor will be Journey Lane coming in for Ellen Collins.
Mountaineer debut for the freshman here on floor.
Level 10 national champion for exercise in 2022. You can see why.
Beautiful Rudy 2-foot layout step out. having some fun with the camera.
Is that something you do when you're waiting to perform? Is where is the camera? Where can I find the camera?
Absolutely. You know, such a big part of performing on the floor exercise is getting your teammates involved, getting the crowd involved. The more that the judges see that and see how much fun you're having during the routine, you give them a little eye look sometimes, you know, it gives you some brownie points. Really difficult punch front double full. You see a lot of athletes do a front handspring in front of that front double full. That makes it a little bit easier, but to run and punch and perform it that well, great routine.
Journey Lane, pretty good debut.
Welcome to West Virginia, Journey.
Madison Durunda will be fourth for this Temple team. She has certainly been a bright spot for the Owls today.
She has, and we talked about her at the beginning of the broadcast. Just everything that she brings to this Temple gymnastics team as a junior. She's building her confidence each and every year. It's something that Temple's really going to want to rely on, and she's doing a really good job.
White score the 8.975, so Aresta's 8.95 is still the lower of the scores for Temple, so they'll count that 8.975 no matter what.
You know, it's interesting.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. It's interesting that we talk about this, the team aspect of gymnastics, but it's such an individual sport, and the fact that you can't really focus on what happened in front of you. You have to be able to regroup, as Madison's doing beautiful handspring layout, step out, layout, step out. I mentioned how difficult that series is. You have to be able to get in your mindset and not worry about what was in front of you and be able to pick it up for you as an individual.
Three veterans in Durunda, Stallings, and Donabedian will close things out for Temple on the day.
Cartwheel 1.5. Very nice routine. Shows so much of her poise, so much of her, you know, veteranness to be able to come back from 2 falls and be able to not make that routine.
Journey Lane with a 9.775 for West Virginia. She has the high score through 3 gymnasts. This will be Carly Nelson competing fourth.
This is an event that Carly's adding this year. I know she's worked really hard to gain her confidence on this event. See if she can keep the momentum going.
Shaken up there. The routine will have to stop.
Unfortunate for Carly there. Looks like she got a little stuck in the mat.
Attended to by her coaches and the Mountaineer trainers here. And now Zakira Muhammad will gather the rest of the team and regroup here with a smile. Obviously, it's a scary moment to see a teammate go through that.
It is. Unfortunately, again, we see it in all sports. You can see doesn't get a lot of punch there. Catches the end of the mat, punching into that second flip. See how under-rotated she is.
Immediately went for that ankle, and she'll be carried by Travis Doak towards the training table. So Mountaineers will have to group, and it's hard for the opponent as well, I think, to see that and mentally have to refocus back in.
It is. It's really hard. Such a part of gymnastics is just the energy that flows from routine to routine. When you see somebody as, you know, as a spectator, as a judge, as a coach, as a teammate, it's hard. It's really hard to recover from. But again, it's something that is just a part of sports, and you just hope she's okay.
Sarah Stallings next up on beam for Temple. Durunda had a 9.775 in front of her.
I mentioned this on bars with Sarah. She just has such a beautiful style. Back handspring, back handspring, right out, step out, absolutely nails it. split jump. You can see how she's taking her time, pressing down into the beam. Full turn. You can see her sister cheering for her in the background. How cool to be able to compete with her sister. Round off 1.5 dismount. She does take that step to the side. Overall, beautiful routine on the beam. That's something I want to stress so much about this Temple team. When they do get the confidence to make the skills, the routines are there. They just have to get that confidence to be able to stay on the beam.
Mountaineers will have their third debut on floor. It will be Amber Lowe, who's had an excellent debut meet.
Amber being in a couple different difficult positions today, being the leadoff on beam, you know, having to compete right after a teammate gets injured. Starts the first pass, round off handspring double tuck, pops the lunge. Round off 1.5 front layout for her combination pass. Teammates involved there. Double pike was a little bit high on that back handspring there. Not able to get the full rotation on the back handspring to get enough air, ends up landing short. She doesn't take the fall though.
On beam for Temple.
Amber Lowe's first pass.
Very nice double tuck. Shows that control on the landing.
And then Brooke Donabedian will finish Temple's 4 rotations. Kristen Gazan on beam, I got an excellent performance on 4. That's got to feed into her performance on beam, I would think. Stallings at a 9.75 in front of her. So 9.8, a 9.775, and a 9.75 for Temple so far, the 2 falls. But the people that have completed their routine have done a very good job.
Switch leap, really difficult ring jump there. Don't see a lot of athletes that compete ring jumps or sheep jumps on the beam. It's a difficult skill. You actually lose vision of the beam. Beautiful series, front aerial back handspring. 3/10 bonus combination there. Another skill you don't see a ton, side semi for her D-level skill.
Averaged a 9.805 on this apparatus last year, Brooke Donabedian.
You can tell she's very comfortable in this event as she sets for a dismount, round off 1.5. Does get that stick. Judges can take a little bit for kind of the wiggling in her shoulders there. Beautiful routine.
After a 9.55 Friday, that's got to feel good.
I think this is exactly what the Temple team wanted to, you know, kind of bring to the table today. They had some mistakes. They did have some today, but overall the performances are getting there.
Abby Pearson will compete her all-around day and the meet itself on 4.
Opens up with a big double layout, a little bit under-rotated. Having some fun out there.
Give me one more chance, a apt lyric for a 5th-year senior competing.
There's a different mindset. She She's done this a couple times. You know, floor's an event that has been just a legacy for West Virginia, and to have Abby kind of continue that legacy, kind of show somebody like Amber how to get it done, you know, under the guidance of Zakira Muhammad, who also is an All-American on this event. Front handspring layout, front full.
Abby Pearson.
Very good end for the Mountaineers. You know, after a struggle there in the middle, two good routines.
Brooke
Donabedian put up a 9.75 to close out scoring for Temple, but they will have an exhibition on beam. Temple unofficially at 191.85 for the afternoon.
Really cool combination there. Switch leg, standing layout, step out.
.05 on beam for Temple, a big improvement over the 46.35 they had on Friday.
I think Coach Steele will be very happy with how they ended on this event. You know, again, you're still seeing some falls from some of the athletes. It's just going to come with time and confidence.
Abby Pearson closing out West Virginia with a 9.775, 48.425 on floor for West Virginia, 193.75 the unofficial team score.
Beautiful leap work on beam. Nice exhibition routine.
So West Virginia had Ellen Collins in the initial lineup, gave Journey Lane, the freshman, a chance to make her debut. Now we'll see Ellen compete in exhibition.
Ellen has really grown on this event and just as an athlete through her time at West Virginia. Again, she's always known what it was to be a Mountaineer. She grew up with that blue and gold blood, and just to get to see her perform, have fun with it, and enjoy her last year as a Mountaineer, it's really special.
Mother, a WVU gymnast, father, a WVU All-American wrestler. They'll be very interested in the Beauty and the Beast meet in a couple weeks.
It'll be fun, little family affair. A punch front Rudy there. For our last pass. Out of handspring, double tuck. Nails that landing. Didn't do the pass that she intended to do on the first class. She was supposed to do a Rudy layout step out for her combination pass. However, exhibition routine this time of year, better be safe.
Well, and you know what you have there if you're Jason Butts. You know that she can do this in a big meet, that she can perform. So I like the move to get Lane in the lineup, get her some experience where it counts too.
Absolutely.
Congratulating today's raffle prize winner, Kendall Paw. You have won a free prize courtesy of WVU Gymnastics.
All right.
You can pick up your prize.
Meet concluded here. West Virginia and Temple back with scores and more from the Coliseum after this. West Virginia celebrating 50 years of gymnastics. They pick up their 50th all-time win over the Temple Owls, 193.75 to 191.85. Welcome back inside the Coliseum. Michael Minnick alongside Kaylin Millett. Kaylin, let's talk about Temple first. Takeaways from their meet.
I think honestly Coach Steele is going to be excited about their effort. She wanted to come in with, not that high of expectations. She just wanted to be able to rebound from the meet on Friday with their beam rotation. I think they did a really good job just being fluid throughout the meet and actually having a good time.
West Virginia finishing up on 4, always their best event. Had a little bit of hiccups, but some excellent scores being put up by younger gymnasts, starting with Journey Lane in her debut.
Really excited for Journey Lane. She is a staple on this event, and we talk about how strong this WVU lineup is on floor, and to add her to it is going to be really beneficial.
And on the other side of the experience spectrum, Abby Pearson, the 5th year, with an excellent performance as the anchor for West Virginia.
Again, she is just going to be such a powerful, advocate on that event. She's going to make sure that the underclassmen are really following in that lead, and they're going to come into their own come the next few meets.
Certainly, we hope Carly Nelson is okay. Her score is dropped. Otherwise, Kiana Lewis with an uncharacteristic performance, but she'll improve as the year goes on to starting point for West Virginia.
I just think, again, we reiterate how important it is to just start. It might not be the score they want, but again, we can drop this score as the season goes on. You just have to find a starting point and be able to work out the kinks. I thought bars went really well for, not having the best preseason on bars. So that's a good positive for West Virginia. They just have to keep adding.
And then Temple and beam. This was the trouble spot Friday, better today.
I've said multiple times on beam, this lineup's very good. If they can make the routine, get their confidence in there, it's beautiful. Very good quality gymnastics on the event. They just have to get there mentally.
Dorinda, I think, even though she wasn't in all 4 events like she was Friday, she was a star for Temple today.
She absolutely is. I do believe she's going to add that 4th event as the years go on. But how important is it to, gain your confidence on 3 events to be able to add that and really be beneficial for your team score?
So you have to count a fall, but like you said, a 9-8 from Shugman, 7-7-5 from Dorinda, 7-5s from Stallings and Donabedian. They will take that for second meet of the year.
Absolutely. I think Coach Steele will be very happy with the way that they ended on that event today.
So West Virginia led throughout, really started well, were able to sustain some momentum. Some trouble spots for sure, but I think a lot of positives going to Illinois next week.
Absolutely, and Illinois is a place that West Virginia hasn't competed at. Illinois is a very good program, I think, for both of these teams. Talking to Coach Steele, they're competing at Auburn this year. Both of these teams just want to be able to compete with the best, ultimately, to get there on their own for each program, and I think it's a really exciting season moving forward.
And as we talked about throughout, those road scores count big time too, as Emma Wary picks up the first award of the day for West Virginia.
Really excited for Emma. Again, a sophomore on the team. She's adding events. She's coming into her own. She's gaining her confidence. She's going to have a really good season for the Mountaineers.
From Temple, Renee Shugman.
Renee Shugman.
And from West Virginia, Miranda Smith.
And Miranda Smith share honors on beam. So Miranda Smith really having a nice start to her sophomore year.
This has been a long time coming for Miranda. I remember her being recruited years ago, and she's finally here. She's finally healthy. The funny thing about Miranda is bars and beam are actually her weakest events. Her strongest events are floor and vault. She's battled with some ankle injuries, but if she can add that and just gain her confidence, she could be a really good all-arounder for this West Virginia team.
Abby
Pearson winning the all-around in her first meet of her final year as a Mountaineer, and just such an example. They talked about Kiana Lewis and Abby Pearson as the leaders for this team, doing it in different ways.
Absolutely. Very uncharacteristic mistakes for Abby and Kiana both together. First meet out, you got to get it out there. Rather than mistakes happen now, Jason always talks about making aggressive mistakes. I do believe they were a little bit conservative today, but again, something they can work on moving forward to Illinois.
West Virginia will go on the road to Illinois, as we just said, in 2 weeks. Back here for 70s night, it will be the Penn Quakers coming in, a team that Temple just competed against that beat them head-to-head on Friday.
Penn is a really good gymnastics program. I've been able to watch some of their meets the last couple years. They're really developing. They've got some strong athletes, so it'll be a good competition for sure.
We will have that one for you here on Big 12 and on ESPN Plus. Looking forward to it already here. Kaylin, first meet, second meet, it's the cliche is you always improve the most. What does this team need to improve on heading into Illinois?
I honestly think just being more aggressive. I think they shocked themselves a little bit on bars, making through that event, actually doing pretty good gymnastics. They kind of got a little bit scared on beam, but you know, starting from the beginning, each routine counts, being aggressive, and building their confidence.
Final thoughts of Kaylin Noack, my analyst today. For her and her entire crew, I'm Michael Minnick saying so long from Morgantown, West Virginia. The Mountaineers winning this meet on their home turf to begin the month of January. All events airing on ESPN Plus are streaming live and archived on the ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN. Thanks for watching on this Sunday, and goodbye from the University City.